Let's go. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Honea, Managing Director of the eWomen Network Atlanta chapter, and I'm here today with Deborah Daniel, a longtime member of our chapter and actually former Managing Director of our chapter. And she's agreed to sit down with me today and have a chat about all things eWomen Network. So hi, Deborah. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. I'm great, thanks. You know, I love to talk about eWomen Network. So
I know, and I'm appreciative of you taking your time today to be here because it's tax season and that's part of what you do. Notice I said part. We're going to get to that in a second. So for those of you, those in our audience who don't have any knowledge of you yet, tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it.
awesome, awesome. Well, for those, I mean, just even it, people that know me don't know everything that I do, but I'm known as Deborah the CPA, of course, because that is the one thing that has been consistent for the last 34 years. I am an addict of all things entrepreneurship. So in addition to owning the CPA firm for all this time, I've had many other business ventures, with partners, without partners, with my husband, with family members, with non-related people, probably in all, probably about 15 businesses over the past 34 years that we've done. Some have been great. Most have not. We haven't really had a total flop, but I mean, some just were out, you got to stay in your lane a little bit. But I do think there is a lot of, just the same thing, different product. Every business is pretty much the same. You got to have the team, you got to have the pricing, you got to have the sales, So once you're in that business, mode, you can pretty much do everything. But where I have staked my little claim to fame for most of this time has been in the CPA world, doing taxes, doing people's, my team, even in the early days, I used to do the QuickBooks myself. Now my team does a lot of that kind of stuff, but anything related to running your business from the financial side and a lot of just what I've morphed into after 3 decades, money, just knowledge, especially for women. I'm not anti-male by any stretch of the means. I love my husband and my son, but I do think that the conversation about money is a little bit different for women. And I really am passionate about helping women make money, make profit, make wealth by running their business the right way.
I love that. One of the things you talk about pretty regularly is keeping more of what you make. And you mentioned the word profit there, but talk to us a little bit about what it means really to maybe have a revenue goal, but not really have a sense of how to retain that money and leverage it for moving forward with a business.
100%. I think that's actually very important in this conversation, in this organization, where our goal as an organization is to help 1 million women make $1 million in annual revenue. And I love that, but I know a lot of people with seven-figure, I've done their tax returns, making $1 million with $30,000 of profit. That's not the goal. The goal is $1 million profitably, right? And so, and that number is a little bit, revenue is kind of a funny word too, because like in my business, that's a lot of money because that's a lot of services. But someone that's doing construction, doing remodeling for someone, that's not a lot of money. I mean, if you're doing a $50,000 bathroom, their profit margin is this. When I do 50,000 in services, our profit margin is pretty good.
Yeah.
So you have to really look at what does that really mean? Because I do talk about keep more because that's the accounting side of me and the operations side of me. But really my whole mantra is make more, which is how do we come up with more revenue streams, passive and, how do you price yourself dollars for hours or one-to-many strategies. Keep more being, taxes, where the money leaks, how can you operate more efficiently, et cetera. And then grow more, meaning I've brought the money in, I've kept it from whatever, and I have some profit left over or cash flow left over that I can grow my wealth. That could mean money to hire another team member to grow your time wealth. It could be more money to put into retirement. It could be more money just so you can take a vacation. But either way, somewhere in that money, kind of spectrum, that's what business is all about, really.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right about how in my experience, the conversation around money with women in particular is very different. We can have conversations with, I spent a lot of years in the corporate world, so the conversation around money with men in the corporate world is pretty straightforward. Here's how much it's going to cost. Yes, no, period, the end. There's more, it seems like almost an emotional connection to the money when it's women. And that's not universally true, but in my experience, I have felt that. I have lived that in a way. When I talk to my mom or when I talk to other women in business, I feel that sort of, I don't know, it's almost like what's the best way to describe, like grippiness around the money.
That, and I think we actually honor and feel the energy of the money more than men do. I mean, I'm not a woo-woo person. I mean, come on, I'm a CPA. I'm like number, dollars and cents. But the thing is, this energetic part does have something to do with it. And when you think about it, I mean, I'm not that old. I mean, when I was in college, even in the 80s, so I'm starting to get my age away, it was not, at one point, women couldn't even get a loan in their own name. That's in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, And I think about when I started my career, this is there were not women doing the things that we're doing now. This is a very, very good time to be a woman and woman in business, but we haven't been able to keep up the technology. I mean, we're still operating on, the flip phone mentality of money, and we're in an iPhone world, right? And I think there's really a lot of, and you can't really even blame people because there's no really mechanism for teaching people this stuff. I have an MBA in finance. I didn't learn about personal finance doing that. I learned about, internal rates of return and, corporate finance and all that kind of stuff. There's, most women, I think, are a little fearful of money because they haven't been taught, but it's not even their fault because there's not really a mechanism for the teaching.
Yeah. And I think about my own daughter's experience in high school. She wasn't taught how to balance a checkbook, the personal finance things that we were required to do when we were in high school and things like that. At least I was. But at the same time, she lives in, and I think of these other emerging leaders that we're seeing come into eWomen Network now, who come in with access to way more information than what we had. We just had the people around us, our teachers, our parents, our spiritual leaders, and so on and so forth when we were younger to learn these kinds of things. Our bosses maybe in corporate settings or in entrepreneurial settings. These kids today have access to a lot more information, but that doesn't necessarily mean they understand it and know how to apply it. So at what point would you say it's a good idea for, say, a college student or someone who's coming up on graduation to have that first real conversation with someone around money and the future?
Well, I think the thing is, and I say this in my book, a book that's coming out soon, when is the best time to start saving and investing? Really the first time you make some money, right? And the second best time, if you haven't done it already, is start today. So almost as soon as you know you're going to start making money, you should at least have a conversation. Most advisors or, professionals, I love to, I guess I have the bandwidth in my time because I have built up my business, but I love to pour into young people. And actually my whole speaking, which has turned into a big part of my life now, started because I started doing a financial literacy class for teens because my kids weren't learning what they needed to learn. They thought this credit card fairy paid off the credit cards or whatever. I'm like, whoa, that's not how it works or whatever. And not understanding. I had a young girl work for me. God, this has been ages ago, probably 20 years ago. But the first time she gets the pay, she said, Deborah, I think something's wrong on my paycheck. You're taking out Social Security and Medicare. I'm not on Social Security and Medicare. I'm like, oh, but honey, that's the way it works. The people that are working pay it in, and then the people that have retired get it. And she was like, you've got to be kidding. It's really just so
oh my gosh.
But it's funny that you say that you got that kind of education in your school, Susan, because it's been, like I said, probably a while. But when I first started talking about financial literacy, literally the statistics were crazy. Like 4% of high schools had any kind of formal personal finance,
Wow.
Curriculum. And I know my kids were going to a school here in town that had it for a while. Now I believe it is required in Georgia to have something, but it's still so small of what they really need to know.
Yeah.
And it is something that you have to kind of learn as you go. It's an on-the-job training, kind of how do you use your money kind of thing. But we do need to have the conversation and take away the, fear of, I don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't want to say anything. But I especially think women need to take more, I keep in my reading and it just keeps coming, take more agency over our money a little bit. Because what I've kind of seen is, I mean, I do a lot of people's taxes. So I sit across the table from a lot of people, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I got some in the 90s, 80s and 90s too now. But even as women's income has increased, and sometimes very often now, they're making as much or more than their spouses, or I have a lot of single moms that are the only breadwinner. So, but especially so many people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they never had anything to do with the money. So their husband dies, which happens a lot because they don't, unfortunately, guys, you don't have as much of a life expectancy as us, or there's a divorce, which happens a lot too. I mean, they don't have any idea what to do with the money. And that's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. It's understandable, but it's scary. And there's a lot more fear than there needs to be about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So thinking about other people in your space, the accounting and advisory space that you primarily offer, what makes you different from the next person down the road, the next tax preparer or the next CPA or the next whoever, whatever?
Sure. Well, a lot of times people are like, are you a CPA? You have way too much personality.
Well, okay, that's one thing.
But I would say, I think the thing that's different about me, and I've felt this from the very beginning, is I have always, sometimes when people have a professional practice, law practice, attorney, medical, a doctor's office, it's still a business. And I've always treated it like a business. And because I come at it from that perspective, I think I bring a lot more to my business owner clients than just the numbers that go along with it. Because I'm always like, well, how are you marketing that? Or what, there's so much more to it than just the dollars and cents. And the dollars and cents make a lot more sense. That's kind of cents when it's combined with all of that all of that. Yeah. And I do believe and I've had this idea for a long time that really and truly, I feel like I'm in a relationship business that happens to have a deliverable that is a tax return, a payroll, a bookkeeping, a financial plan, whatever. And I think that's different than the way a lot of practitioners particularly. And I would say the biggest thing that I have morphed into that's different than a lot of accountants, and I'm not knocking anybody in my profession whatsoever, but many accountants are historical recorders of what happened in the past, not proactive, planners for their clients. To the credit of other people that are in this industry, it is extremely intense for those first couple of months of the year. And when people are coming in to have their tax returns done, you don't have time to be diagnosing what's going on. Right. But like me, I send out tons of emails the rest of the year, like we need to get together. But you can't, one, draw a horse to water and make them drink. I mean, clients don't want to talk about it except for tax season. That's not the time to talk about it. It's kind of like your doctor's doing brain surgery and then you say, well, by the way, my elbow's also hurting over here. No. Let's just take care of what we're doing right now. But that's, and some people are very exhausted. They don't want to have that extra. I mean, they've gotten paid for a transaction. That's what they paid for because it's not part of the tax return to do tax planning. But I enjoy the tax planning so much more. And I think it adds more value to clients. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody that doesn't do that. But if you want that, you got to find somebody that's doing it. Yeah. And it's just not everybody.
And I think that's a really smart sort of broader business approach too, especially if you're working with someone like myself, for example, who's a multipreneur and needs extra strategy around, okay, we have this one business that is going to require you to pay some penalties in tax this year, some self-employment stuff. So what if you were to do this? And what if you were to do this? And here's what those scenarios look like. I happen to be married to an accountant, so I understand this business really, really well. And I think that when we come across other accountants who treat the business as a relationship business first, it makes us appreciate the relationships that we have with our own clients, and ultimately we serve our clients more effectively when we don't see it as a transaction. Yeah, I mean, we could all go to the, what do we call it? The little kiosk in the Walmart to get our taxes done if we really want to.
Yeah, the Liberty Tax guy or whatever.
Yeah. And they serve a purpose, right? So if you're a simple 1040 kind of one W-2 return, sure, they're great because there's not a lot of tax planning that goes with it. If you have a more complicated situation, you need somebody who can really look at your life holistically and say, all right, here are the things you need to consider. So I appreciate that very much.
Right. Which
Um,
and someone that spends a lot of time researching it. I mean, a lot of time in looking for strategies. I mean, and one too. I mean, my husband sometimes is like, oh, well, don't let the clients understand how successful you are. Don't drive an expensive car. Honestly, I want my financial person to be successful because if they're not successful, how can they tell me to be successful?
Yeah, on that we agree. I mean, I'm practical. I'm very pragmatic in my own life, but I'm not going to drive a jalopy if I'm a successful human being. That's just not the way it's going to work. So,
Well, I mean, I think you have to walk the walk, right?
yeah,
You have to do the thing. If you're going to tell clients to do this, this, and this, you need to be doing them too. And rarely do I give a strategy to a client that I haven't used myself.
yeah.
To either in one of the businesses that I have or in my own personal. I've owned a lot of rental properties, so I specialize in helping people do that. I've owned a bunch of businesses. I mean, I could help anybody do anything, but I particularly pay attention in my continuing education to things that affect my tax return. So if you
Yeah.
kind of like my tax return, I got a lot for you.
Well, and that's actually a really good transition into the conversation around eWomen Network because we both attended a conference last week, the Platinum
Yes.
Conference. Summit, technically is what it's called. And I firmly believe that Sandra, Yancey, and Kim and Brianna aren't going to tell us to do something that they haven't vetted themselves. They've either tried it or they've tried it with a client and they know it's going to work. And so to your point about that, you're not going to do something that you likely haven't fully vetted or tried on your own situation. So I love that. What originally drew you to eWomen Network?
I'll tell you. So I wandered into an SBI way back around 2010, I think, because like I said, I've had about 20 different businesses. At one point, I owned an independent auto insurance company, property and casualty company, and an Allstate agency. And so my accounting business by that point was already 15 or 20 years old, maybe more. And it was kind of rocking and rolling. We already had enough critical mass that I haven't done much marketing other than networking and stuff for a long time, but I wasn't networking for my accounting business because I had enough referrals, but I really wanted to kind of jumpstart that, the property and casualty agency. And so I, had never done it before, but I was like, okay, what about these women's groups that are out there? And so I found an eWomen Network SBI, which is the Strategic Business Introduction, which isn't our big monthly lunch, but our smaller group thing. And they were doing them all in person back then. So I went to an event, I sat at a table with, like 12 other people. And I was like, oh my God, these people get me. Because dial it back to, hopefully it's not the same for our younger little, entrepreneurs, but back when my kids were young and I'm in a fairly affluent part of town, most of the moms stayed at home. And there was a little bit of mommy shaming in why don't you stay at home with your kids? And I mean, I have an MBA, I own a business. And I walked into this room and there were other people, all they were talking about was their business and how cool it was. And how I was like, oh my God, I have found my tribe. This is amazing. And so that was my first experience. I went to a luncheon. I joined almost immediately because I'm like, I'm in. I mean, because I'm kind of the person that's either, I don't run hot or, I don't run lukewarm. I'm either super hot or super cold. So I jumped in, and then about a year later, the managing director, she was a younger person, kind of not exactly, she was way younger than, most of the people. Now we have a lot more young people. Back then we didn't quite have as many. And she had little kids and her business was kind of struggling a little bit. And so she stepped down and I was like, oh my God, this cannot happen. So I I'm volunteering. I thought, I didn't realize, boy, was that a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. But I just didn't want it to really end, And so, and ever since then, I've been all in. I became platinum when they first, offered it. The first year I've been to every platinum summit, except for I think 2 out of, 12 or 13 years. I'm like a super consumer of all things eWomen Network.
Yeah, I mean, even to the extent that you have been a Pinnacle member this year, and so you've had
Mhm.
direct access, one-on-one access to Sandra and Kim and Brianna and the corporate team to build out specific aspects of your business and really deeply work on things. So you
100%. But I think the thing is, you've got to really, I mean, you cannot discount the fact that the CEO Plus members are getting that from Sandra every month.
absolutely,
I mean, because the reality is, and this is what I love about SBIs when I used to lead them, they were my favorite things. I like them better than the lunches. I mean, I love the lunches too. But what I loved about the SBIs is if Sally was talking about marketing, because we talk about our biggest challenge or whatever, that may have been my number 2 or 3, and other people are pouring into her. And I'm taking notes copiously, because it wasn't what I was going to ask about, but that peer to peer. And when Sandra's talking about those things on those CEO Plus calls, almost everybody can relate to them, even if it wasn't your question or what she's
yeah.
talking about. Because the reality is 95% of business is the same for all of us. The only thing different is our little product and our little secret sauce of how we do that product or service, right?
Yeah, sure. And if we can borrow a framework from somebody, whether it's Sandra Yancey or somebody in that wisdom circle of 12 business owners, perfect. Because, in a way, it's Sandra always talks about how we can pay for speed. We can throw good
Mm-hmm.
money after bad, or we can throw good money after good and pay for speed from
Right.
the right people. And when we put ourselves in the right room, the SBIs in particular, in my opinion, that's where the magic happens. I too love the luncheons, but that SBI is something else. We are returning to
Exactly.
some,
Plus, we could do so many now remotely. I mean,
right.
remember when I first got involved? I mean, for the first decade, everything was in person. You
Yeah.
didn't do anything remotely. We didn't play this Hollywood Squares, thing that we do now.
I like the Hollywood. Well, we are returning to some in-person ones, as you know, because we'll be putting a date on the calendar to come to your conference room or one very near you. So, like in your own building. So, okay. So give us an example of a way that eWomen Network has very specifically supported your business growth. It could be something recent or it could be something from early on, but something that gives our listeners, viewers, the sense of what they might get out of eWomen Network if they consume the same way you do.
100%, because I am one of those people that will write a check for speed. But didn't even really cost me that much, but just I had no speaking career. I was not a speaker before I got involved with the Women Network, and I was booking these speakers every month to come and speak. I'm like, oh my God, I could do that too. My entire business model has changed around that. My whole, I mean, I'm now doing online programs. I'm doing webinars. None of that would I've had had I not been exposed to eWomen Network, because it is about networking, but it is about resources as well. Other networking groups you go to don't tell you about running a webinar, or I had a podcast on the eWomen Network podcast network. I mean, it's a whole ecosystem of building your business. And I would say actually the relationships that I've made in this organization have drastically changed the trajectory of my business. I wasn't focusing on women, 15 years ago when I first learned about eWomen Network. And I really wasn't having as much fun in my business before I met eWomen Network either. So it's just been, like I said, I'm a super consumer. I've done everything. I've done celebrity science. I've done Pinnacle this year. I've, of course, Platinum from the very beginning. I've been a managing director. I've had podcasts. So I'm in the speakers network. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like a crazy consumer of this thing. I'm in love.
Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Platinum, because I think that's an area where people are like, am I ready for this? I think the most recent statistic I saw was that about 95% of new members come into eWomen Network at that CEO Plus level. So they get all of the things that are associated with CEO Plus. And then they hear about or see the information on Platinum and they're like, what is that? And what do I get from that I don't get from CEO Plus? Talk to us a little bit about your perception of how Platinum is the right thing for a lot of our members.
Well, I will say, I mean, we have our own little hashtag, the power of platinum. And also, if you're in platinum, you'll understand about our references to bacon all the time. But the power of platinum, it really is access to the people. One, we have this extra time that we spend with Sandra, Kim, and Brianna at our own little summit once a year. But I think it's more the ladies in the room, because I will tell you, I mean, in most rooms that I go to, networking or whatever, I'm a little bit more accomplished than most of the businesses in there. I go to platinum because I actually have the opportunity, not just from Kim, Sandra, and Brianna, but the other ladies in the room. I can actually get something poured into me. I get something from it. I'm not the one pouring out, all the time, which I do, without any reservation when people ask me, because I love everything about business. But I mean, every once in a while you're like, hey man, I'd like to learn something from somebody else.
Yeah. And that's
and that happens in the platinum room.
It does. I mean, I was in that room last week and I saw it happening. And the analogy that comes to mind really quickly is, if you want to become a better tennis player or a better chess player or a better anything, compete against or put yourself in the situation with people who are better than you are. And it doesn't matter what it is. If I want to become a better coach, because that's what I do for a living, then I need to learn from coaches who are better than I am. I need to listen and watch and pay attention. If I want to, I'll go back to the tennis thing. If I want to improve my tennis game, I have to play against somebody who's going to make me level up.
Who challenges you, right?
Yeah.
Who challenges you. And
Yeah.
you know how they just say you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room, And I don't mean just smart, but more experience, you just have experienced more. So you don't want to be the one that always knows more about what's going on because you've just been there longer,
Right. Right. And that's true. And I understand your point about, I'm the same way. I like to pour into other people. I lead with acts of service. I always have. It's my love language, if we want to go down that woo-woo path, both giving and receiving. But at the same time, every once in a while, I want somebody to hold me accountable in a different way, in a more elevated way. I want somebody to push me to be the best version of myself. And that's what that platinum room has done for me. So,
right.
That's so cool. What would you say to someone who is considering joining eWomen Network right now?
Oh, well, I mean, I just think, again, I think it's a different way to network. I don't even like to go to I know we have some emails that come around, but it's still a very feminine energy, and the networking is a little bit different. We will bring a couple of guys along with us, but you don't want the room to be dominated by which so many are. You go to the chamber events, you go to BNIs. It's just a different energy, a different conversation. And honestly, I didn't say this, but some of my best friends that I have now, I've met through, especially Platinum. And you just don't do that when you go to a chamber event, right?
Yeah. Well,
so if you could get business and personal, that's like a, win-win, right?
Absolutely. And it's like, it goes back to what you were saying about, you treat your business as a relationship first business. Those other kinds of networking events are very transactional. It's like, okay, how many people can I do business with in the room? And at eWomen, we're not like that. It's not about selling.
Yeah, you're not getting a card shoved in your face the whole time. Like, here's my card.
What I have noticed, and this is true at the international conference, which we call Icon, it was true at the Platinum event. It's true in our regular room for our luncheons and for our SBIs. If somebody's interested in doing business, it's a side conversation after the fact. There's no push for that sort of thing. Yes, we give referrals to one another. I see referrals happening in our room all the time, but there's not this real sort of overtone of we have to do business with one another, because that's not why we're there.
Right. It's not all about like promoting yourself only. Honestly, it really leads with, what do you need? And maybe I know somebody, not, hey, this is what I do and you need it from me. The difference of that, really, it's really more, most of the time I'm actually connecting people with other people versus trying to promote myself there.
Same. But when we do that, we set ourselves up as trusted advisors. And that's really what I've noticed. You noted that many of your closest friends are within that eWomen Network ecosystem now. I've also noticed that I've built kind of an advisory board for myself of people who are in the network. And that's important to me as a business owner. So I can say, like Amy Matthews, another former managing director, executive managing director, I can call her up and say, hey, I have this problem. Can I get your advice for 2 minutes? Or I can call Cricket Harrison and say, hey, I'm doing this keynote next week and this doesn't feel right. Can you help me with that? And so on and so forth. How do you leverage that in your own business as far as like, let's say you have a client who comes to you and they're talking about these struggles that they're having in their business. How do you tap into your eWomen network in order to help your clients?
Oh, wow, for sure. I mean, well, just I know so many of them. I mean, come on, since 2010. I mean, we're looking at almost 2 decades here. I really have. I mean, one, because I feel like I can trust that those people are going to take care of them. So if I know what they need, and I know somebody, I mean, I have referred a ton of clients over the years, and now especially since the world has become so much more global. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're in Cincinnati or Dallas or on the West Coast. We can still refer people all around.
Yeah. Hi, Amy in Cincinnati, by the way. It was good to see her last week. Oh my gosh. All right. So, what is a way that the eWomen Network community can support you right now? You mentioned this little book project that you have going.
Exactly. So, I mean, really, it's more than a book. It's really kind of it's a movement, really. And so where I came up with the whole idea, the book is called Women's Wealth Secrets, and it actually is the birth child of when I did Celebrity Science with Kim and Sandra and Brianna. We kind of looked at everything that I had going on. I told them what I was passionate about. And we actually then, back in 2020, came up with womenswealthsecrets.com. And we were like, oh my gosh, it's available. And I saved that URL. And so it's more than just the book, because I have a course that follows it, a mastermind, and now with my great new beach house that I just bought, we're going to be doing some retreats down there. But so we do have the bestseller campaign coming out pretty soon, and I am going to be doing some workshops. It's something that also was part of our plan back in 2020 when I did Celebrity Science with them, that we were going to do like kind of like Sandra's tour a little bit. I'm not going to go to 30 cities. We had talked about 10, but actually I think I'm going to do like 3 or 4, like of course Atlanta, Cincinnati, where I know a bunch of people, Dallas, where I know a bunch of people, and then maybe like, I don't know, I haven't decided the other one. But I mean, my win for me, because I mean, I'm really kind of complete as far as my business and money kind of goes. I mean, the rest is just now for fun for the rest of my life. But I mean, I've worked too hard to just be giving all this stuff away for free. But I mean, if I had, some people in my course, some people in my mastermind, and I filled up, maybe 2 or 3 15 people retreat, I'll be like the happiest person that ever lived. So it's not like I got to go, meet a million people or whatever. But helping with the book launch will be great. I'm going to be doing a lot of social media about it. So just loving on the social media. I am looking for some early readers of the book. So I've got it's being edited right now, but it's not going to change that much. So I can send out the ebook, because when we do, I mean, just a little bit of hint, if you're doing a bestseller campaign, the day they launch it, it's good to have people going in and putting reviews in already. So obviously I'm happy to let some people read the book before it comes out to get those. But I mean, just really, supporting that. I mean, always social media love is great, because it doesn't cost you anything to support one of your friends or colleagues by just commenting, liking, sharing their social media. I mean, and we already have a great thing if you're in platinum that we kind of have committed to each other that will help on those bestseller campaigns, 99 cents, $2.99, whatever, to buy the ebook or whatever. And then, of course, anybody that's in my ecosystem, you don't have to be in platinum if you want to get on my email list. I actually am putting together right now, and I'll have it ready for next month's event, little QR codes that people can get the first 3 chapters of the book right now, just as kind of like a little gift, and also to get on the launch list and stuff like that. So just supporting that would be great. I mean, obviously we always take on new, tax clients and things like that, but that just happens so organically. I don't even hardly even talk about that anymore. I talk about my special project.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your other special project that you have going on. We'll put the book information into the chapter newsletter and all of that kind of stuff so that people have all of that information at their fingertips. But you've recently, over the last couple of years, moved into a space that's really focused on wellness. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing there, how you decided that that's what you wanted to do, and what you have available in your building here in the Atlanta area.
Awesome. Because that is really, there's going to be a big launch on that because it's really, I've got a couple new things happening there. Well, so I am a huge believer that wealth is so much more than just money. It's your relationships, it's your health, it's your knowledge and sharing that knowledge. And so I've been I would say a topic that I know right below money is probably health, because I consume that kind of information like a vampire. But I also don't like to just give me a pill and take care of the symptom or whatever. So I've spent a lot of time looking into more, non-invasive holistic stuff. So mostly I focus on red light because it has a lot, and it's becoming more and more popular. It has just been approved, FDA approved for weight loss and for pain management. And it's just good overall. And so we've got a red light machine, we do red light yoga, we've got a full body vibration, which is good for getting your detox, lymphatic drainage and stuff like that. We're looking at getting, we haven't got this yet, but one of our plans is to get a sauna, is also to get a hyperbaric chamber, just all these holistic things. We have PMF already right now that can just help you be healthy. I mean, the whole part of what I'm trying to do is longevity. I mean, yes, feel better, look better now, but I personally am on the 100-year plan. And so I want to be 100 years old and feel great and look great, because I've seen too many people because I see their money, they've saved and saved and saved, and then they're spending a ton of the money they saved on just their wellness. I mean, on their sickness. So you either pay for wellness or you pay for sickness. And so that's really how I got into the space. It's not like, oh, Deborah, let's sell some coffee or some jewelry or something that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. But I mean, it's just another pillar to me of what I think is the three pillars of wealth, really: money, relationships, and health. I mean, are really the things I want to focus on. And so we've got a lot of cool things planned. We're going to do some women's wellness days where people can come. I mean, it's kind of like a whole day, like 10 to 4, where we're going to have a little bit of a light, healthy lunch, but then people can try the different modalities, and we'll have, try a couple classes like a red light yoga or a sound bath class. It's a really good way to get introduced to it. Or always, it's right here in the same building that I do my accounting business in. So anybody, it's always open. I mean, we do it basically by appointment, but we're here all the time. So pretty much anybody like, hey, Deborah, I feel like it's been a little bit like, like in Prohibition back in the 20s, knock, 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 let me in. That's kind of been, because it's kind of like a secret little thing that I do. Like, Deborah, can I use your red light machine? But we're working on that. We're actually going to do we have an outside source that's going to do some Facebook ads and stuff for us, because I'm the kind of person, I just don't, like I said, there's not too much gray. I'm either hot on it or I'm cold on it. And I feel like I've been a little bit too lukewarm on that. And I really want to, this year, we're going to really get it rocking and rolling. So it's not like a secret.
Well, I mean, and I could see that. And it's kind of, in many ways, I love what you said about how you have these pillars of wealth and health and relationships, right? So that's an important sort of, that's a tie-in, if you will, to bring it all together. Because I could see where people would say, but she's a CPA, why do we have a wellness studio as well? But that's why. It's part and parcel of the same thing. And if we start, I talk to clients about this all the time, if we start separating out parts of our lives and putting walls in between them, we force ourselves to become different people. And fundamentally, we can't do that. We can't be two different people. And what you're asking people to do is to pay attention to the three most important parts of their life, and give them equal attention in many ways, so that they can protect themselves for the long haul, not just financially.
It's kind of a three-legged stool. I mean, what is the point of having all the money in the world, but you're decrepit and can't get out of bed because you're sick?
Right.
Or you have the health and you have the money, but you have no relationships or time to spend it with anybody. I mean, you need all of those to really, I think, get to that pinnacle of, actually, I don't know, completeness.
Yeah, I love that. So just to draw us to a close today, how can people find you?
So obviously I have my website, deborah.daniel.com, and I also have my accounting website, charteraccounting.com. That's the easiest way. I'm in all the socials at Deborah Daniel CPA, or is my handle for LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So love on it when you see my posts.
I love that. And we'll put most of that information in our summary notes below on our YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
so I just want to thank you for spending your Monday afternoon with us. This will post on Thursday for this week. This is even a bank holiday, and we're here talking to one another on this day. So I really appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to see you at our next eWomen event. And
I'll be there.
absolutely. So thanks again. I'm going to stop the recording now.